Hello and welcome to Technical Tuesday, which of course is technically giving me some issues. With our first guest, we're about to get them on. I'm just sharing it to their profile so that they can share. Our first guest is so Tech Tuesday, wonderful experience. Our first guest is Krishna Madoppa, who is in India at the moment. So that's why we're having internet problems. I'm going to share it to Krishna's timeline. He is a wonderful being of divine light, a scientist. In fact, I'll read his profile in a minute, but there, I've shared it to your Facebook page, Krishna. And then later on in an hour, we have the wonderful Tapas Fleming from TAT Technique. Please enjoy, share and subscribe. I don't know if you can subscribe, but share the link anyway. Yes. And so without further ado, let us introduce Krishna. Krishna Madoppa. Hello. How are you, divine being? Can you hear me? Good.
Well, dearest man, first of all, it is so wonderful. Namaste to all of you across this beautiful planet. Second, we come to a very clear principle. When we ask, how are you? Does the sun ask of the earth, what are you giving me in return? It just shines, doesn't it? So these were insightful transmissions of my dear mother right from a very early formative period. And it's very reverberant. And this is where the wisdom of the great sages really unites, because it comes to one single clear purpose. We are all beings of light. When we emit, when we express, when we continue, it is all waves that prevail in coherent domains, which means principles that unite with the unification of life that ennobles not only every cell of the 50, 70 trillion that we have, but for all beings in all spaces and all dimensions.
Yes.
And this is a wisdom transmission across civilizations. So there is really nothing to talk about other than defining the expressions that align us to focus, receive, and implement, which is what we have our energy train, our energy centers. It's so clear, it's so elegant, it's so magnificent.
It is. Now, hold on. I think we got a little bit into it. That is wonderful. But I did want to introduce you properly. So I've got a little blurb to read about you, which I kind of spliced together. Okay. Krishna is going to be speaking on transitioning from Homo sapio to Homo luminoso. Krishna is a wonderful, deep-hearted shaman that honors sacred space and brings healing to presence. That was my little add to you. Healing to presence. An Ayurvedic specialist, a divine alchemist, a distiller of fine aromas, a storyteller, based usually in Taos, New Mexico, currently in India. His research is in engineering and biofield sciences. He is totally immersed in scientific research and the exploration of subtle energies and frontier sciences. For more, you can see his website, krishnamadoppa.com. Krishna, again, such a pleasure to have you here. Thanks for joining us from India with average internet connection. We'll just have to have the whole conversation psychically. Good.
Is that convergent domains?
Yes, exactly. Eminent domains. So, tell us about some of the stuff that you've been up to. How long have you been in India? You're just visiting family?
Well, actually, over the last, you know that since I've lived in the US now for almost 5 decades, but my continuous visits back and forth to the land of my birth
Yes.
has accelerated over the last, I would say, since the year 2000. And it brings forth the essence of what Swami Vivekananda transmitted way back after his speech at the Parliament of Religions in 1896 in Chicago, where he also conveyed, let's bring this to the West and merge it with the wisdom of the East. So, as you are very well aware, Krishna's immersion into the non-linearity of science, after my association with dear Konstantin Korotkov from the late 90s and continuing,
yes,
where the non-linearity of bioelectrography synthesized the transmissions of Vedic wisdom. And hence, this has been the propelling dimension, converging with my work with essential oils from the distillation practices, then integrating with the empowerment of the sacred plants, not only in Taos, where we have distilled the sacred plants of Taos, of the indigenous folks, like the Tiva tribe, the Navajos, the Hopis, from Osha root to Taos, to the Taos sage, to the white sage, to the junipers, all those coming together. Then, of course, in India, we've got a whole lexicon of sacred plants. So all these converging together brought forth a synthesis that ultimately we breathe the vital force and the intelligence of the universe the moment we begin to utilize this genie in the bottle as an example. Right? So the word prana is 2 syllables, P-R-A-N-A. And translated, it means the smallest particle of pure intelligence of the universe. So, and this is what we breathe in every moment, not every second, but in every moment, whether it's the inhalation, it's the whole, it's the exhalation, it's the whole. It's an ecosystem that ennobles the 70 trillion cells that each and every one of us in our human energy fields are gifted with. And is there anything to do? No, there's nothing to do. All we have to do is show up. And that's which is what Patanjali in 900 BC wrote in the Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, which is enumerates everything that we are going to be addressing through our glorious session that we are going to have. So this is a convergence of the unity of the human from the body of matter to the body of light.
So you...
Which is also... Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. I'm trying to sum up. Your internet's a little bit dodgy, but you're in India. What I was going to sum up is that you were saying that the sages, the wisdom of the sages of the ages, from the Bhagavad Gita to the Vedics, to all the talking about the prana and the energy fields of the body and the energy of life, we're now starting to gauge an understanding of it because we have technology with regards to things like Kirlian and the BioWell, and you're working specifically with the BioWell now. Is it an upgrade? Is that what you taught from?
No. I work with both the systems. I mean, that's another technical issue.
Right.
The BioWell is more adaptable to the technology of our times.
Okay, but
the earlier is a precursor, but it's a very, very strong research-based system.
So the point is that these systems reveal these energy systems that have been referred to since the dawn of written civilization, but have never really been able to be visualized for other people. So now we're an apex moment, a crossing of science and spirituality.
Mm.
So where to from here?
Well, the answer to that is very, very simple. It's very simple, because it has been already conveyed by our great sages and wisdom teachers. All we have to do, there is one clear saying that, dear Mahatma Gandhi, during the time when the colonial establishments were here, made a very clear statement from his contemplations. He said, in man, by gender, reason quickens and guides the feeling. In a brute, the soul lies dormant. Awaken the heart, you awaken the dormant soul. Right? That massive statement led him to also yet another insightful transmission, which he conveyed, that truth doesn't require to pay homage to society. It's the other way around. Society requires to pay homage to truth.
Interesting.
But what does that really translate to? Because we can discuss on truth at an intellectual level. This is not about any of that. You feel it. What did Nicholas Roerich convey? He said, when all thought emerges from here and then transmits to here, we will evoke a civilization that is highly advanced. We are still primitive. We are still barbarians. In the way we address, even our science is barbarian, because we are still limited inside the electromagnetic spectrum. Which is why the insightful, in deep Tibetan practice, Padmasambhava, also known as Guru Rinpoche, he came from the southern part of India, like Nagarjuna did, and lived in Tibet during the time when Buddhism was starting to format itself. And then at that time, there were many, many discordant entities, like we have today. It's no different. It's no different. So, but we must recognize the power of one. Not one as a singularity, but one as a grand unification. That grand unification, as what Padmasambhava was guided. He went all the way, actually from Tibet to Bhutan, and this was 6th century. And he went to a cave in Bhutan that today is called Tiger's Nest. Oh, you have to walk. It's like 23,000 steps. You have to walk through mountains to get to this cliff hanging. And in this cliff hanging, now it is a small monastery that is constructed there. But the cave, he went into the cave and he contemplated for 4 months. And what was received to him, or what was divined to him, was the essence of cosmic power, which we can pick out in sages today, in beings today, who also were divine with such powers. Now, do you think this is isolated to a few? Not at all. It is in the grasp of everyone. There's no magic bullet here.
So what is this, because we're talking about thinking from the heart and contemplating in a cave. So let's just talk about the heart aspect. How does one think from one's heart?
1 second, Mark. Paula, can you close the door, please?
So
1 second, Mark. Give me a second.
Okay. So obviously in life in India is always moving, always action. And if anyone hasn't been to India, I highly recommend India. Go there for at least 6 months, explore, live, speak to the people. Amazing experience of soul, of self. That's okay. I was just explaining to people about India and how there's always something going on in India. There's always some movement of energy happening. It's a creative vortex of happening. Have you got your entire family there?
Yes, Paula is here. Paula is here with me.
Okay.
And is awaiting when she is able to travel back to Tapas.
Right.
You asked me how long have I been here. Over the last 3 years, I've essentially got an apartment here. Mm-hmm. And the reason for that is essentially the integration of the best of the sciences in which, as you know, that Krishna has been immersed in.
Right.
In not only the study of human energy fields, but also study of water, which is our most sacred substance.
Right.
And the revival of the wisdom of plants, so that the innate intelligence of the universe gets to intrinsically seed into our DNA, which is what when Bruce Lipton did his research way back in the 1980s, and he completed his research that came out in the first work of his called Biology of Belief.
Yep.
These were not his hypotheses, but rather they were his observations and statements. The body is not a structure. It is a process in consciousness. We can rewrite our genes. We can rewrite our DNA. Which means that, are we not beings of light? Are we not that which is unified to connect with a collective field? And what is this collective field in Sanskrit? We call it Sanatana Dharma. Sanatana Dharma is a membrane of grand unification to which we are all synchronized and aligned to. So Krishna's last 3 years has been evoking essentially this, the grand unification, bringing science of non-linearity, which means that science, when it is directed to the service of society, which means you inspire, you enrich, you empower all life,
right,
then life will thrive. And this is a basis. This is fundamental. We inform the water that we work with. What occurs? We are not 70% water. That do we get biology and chemistry. That's past. We must look at what dear Bill Tiller wrote in his book way back in the early 1990s in Science and Human Transformation. He said in one paragraph in that book, we are liquid crystal-like receptors of subtle energies that have the capacity to receive information from all dimensions when our two hemispheres are synchronized. How apt. Well, we don't need to keep on talking now, Mark Abadi.
It's done.
Dearest Mark Abadi, we need to act on it. So we need to not only arise, awake, and attain this source field connect. And the steps are very divinely dedicated, which is what Patanjali conveyed. But of course, also at the same time, we are explorers ourselves. We don't just take something from one great sage and say, oh, this is the way we got to do it. We have to test it ourselves, don't we? And unless we test it ourselves, how can we call it and realize that grand potential that already resides in the field where there is no separation. How can that occur? Unless we are aligned ourselves. And to be aligned ourselves, how do we begin that process?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. How do we? I mean, that's the point. You know, how do people, you know, so this alignment of the hemispheres it's made sense to me since I first found out about the hemispheres when I was, you know, in school. It makes sense that the synchronization of as May Wan Ho used to say, the quantum jazz of our hemispheres together makes sense. Now, we're also talking about the quantum jazz of the brain with the heart, the interlaced, caduceus, serpentine fractal of our heart and our brain as well. So, one question: how do we start to align the parts of ourselves that we're not even necessarily aware of? How, like, they're working by themselves, it seems. Like our blood is flowing by itself. We don't go, okay, flow more there. It's like it seems to be out of our control.
Well, that's a deeper topic, what you just brought out. How do we regulate? You know, how do we regulate the ANS? You know, and this is what dear Dr. Elmer Green, back in the 1960s, when he began his R&D on biofeedback, right, ended up coming and going to the Himalayas and meeting up with Swami Rama. And Swami Rama said to him in no uncertain terms, I said, you know, this is not a fancy TV show here that I can shut my heart from breathing and do any of these things that you guys study about, that your ANS cannot be shut. But yeah, with the sense of core inner regulation, anything is achievable. Everything is achievable. Then that led dear Elmer Green to go deeper and deeper, which then gave birth to ICEAN.
Right. Which is where we met.
So, right, exactly, on the memorable afternoon with dear May Wan Ho.
That was so Jacob, beautiful. And Jacob,
Bernie Williams.
Yeah, and actually we did an interview, you and I still have not done anything with that interview. I'm going to start editing it soon. It's only been 10 years ago, maybe 15 actually. But yeah, if you remember, we did an interview. I was creating a documentary on spirituality, and I interviewed you by a lake, I seem to remember. So the wider topic of the synchronization of these things together. Why does science, sort of, you know, general science, find this work of Bill Tillers, of May Wan Ho, of Bruce Lipton? Why do they find it so hard to digest?
You know, with no pointing of one finger, two fingers, 5 fingers. We don't need to point fingers anymore. But rather, the purpose of history is for us to evolve, not to repeat. So, if we are to progress, we cannot progress if we are still contained inside the thoughts we thought when we created these situations.
Right. That's like Einstein's quote, you can't solve the problem with the same level of thinking that got you into the problem.
Precisely. You know, here is a transmission that not too many folks on the planet may be aware of. But in 1835, Lord Macaulay gave a presentation at the British Parliament. And that presentation was, how do we
what?
Enslave a nation.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, summary of
Krishna, your internet broke up. Say it again.
So, Lord Macaulay, 1835, British Parliament. Topic, how do we enslave a nation? And his succinct words were, I have traveled the length and breadth of India. I have not seen a thief or poverty. Spirituality is the basis of their existence, and they have a system of education that is unparalleled. The only way we can break the backbone of this nation is by introducing a system of education to which these Indians would aspire to and consider theirs less. Masterfully done. So you ask the big question, where are we today in relationship? I'm not talking about India because I'm here, but now we are referring to the entire noosphere. We are referring to our noosphere, we are referring to our biosphere, which means that we are all in this together, which means that each and every one of us must attain a high vision. So that's part of the history.
Okay.
Now we can see that here we are towards a grand unification, which is the synchronistic way that ultimately how frequency and vibration patterns align. And we know the power of this because studies have been done from Washington, D.C. in the early 90s to minimize the level of incoherence. Otherwise, it was called crime in the middle of summer, right? You know about that study.
Yeah, the meditation study in New York, yeah?
Yes, correct. So here we are right at the, we are not at the tipping point or any of those. Forget those words. We are here at a convergence. And this convergence is calling each and every one to their highest purpose of being. In other words, guide me to live my highest purpose. Now, it's not how do we attain that. We don't need to aspire to anything. It's already here.
Right.
All we need to do is centrifuge the junk from us, literally, which is why the dervishes dance and spin around.
Right.
Right, which is why we also invoke and we chant. Whether the chanting is by closing your ears, having your tongue to the upper mandible, and going, resonating this vibration, be it for 30 seconds, be it for 10 seconds, be it for 1 minute, and you can just keep on modulating, because ultimately we are the most refined laboratory that there is on this entire cosmos. It's already been designed by the Supreme Creator. There's nothing to doubt about this anymore. You know the saying, alas, may I have a moment with thee, than 1,000 years of doubt. Right? You've heard that.
Yes, I think it sounds Christian, but I've heard it. I don't.
Well, it is.
Right.
So, all we have to do to this alignment is acknowledge that we are, what is our cosmic antenna? Are the chakras, are our energy centers. When they are tuned, there is a rhythmic flow that creates a toroidal field in field of spins through the Ida, the Pingala nostril and the Shushumna Nadi. These are natural governances. The moment we are able to express the synchronicity between the nostrils, well, what do these grand beings of nature do? They enhance the potency of transmission. And what do they convey with that? Nothing. All that they convey is the revival of the human
Nothing.
to your remembering of where we come from. Well, this is the wisdom of sages. No matter which field, we don't need to talk about religion or cultures. It is. Today we have a science that is beginning to express the depth of what we are just sharing. Because ultimately, when the human is awake, we don't need gadgets.
Right.
We are tuned to that which is the harmonic of the universe.
Sorry to interrupt.
You wanted to share something.
No, I wanted to ask, do you think that science can ever really catch up? Because, I mean, what we're talking about now is realigning with the unity of creation, right? Remembering, becoming a member again of the unity, where the Ida and the Pingala unite through the Sushumna, and then they become one, and boom, you are it. And duality falls away, and questions fall away, doubt falls away. All the things that are identified as separate, as duality, cease to be separate and become one. So can science ever get us there? Because science requires an edge, something to compare, something to something else, a border. And in the attainment of the remembering, there is no border. So are we doing a futile mission by trying to use science to look at any of these unifying presences?
You know, recently, the head of the All India Institute of Medical Sciences gave a presentation. She heads the nuclear MRI lab. And it was a 9-month study that she did to observe how the immune markers, etc., would respond to chanting the Gayatri mantra. So she went through the regular protocols of the way we are all attuned in, trained in, double-blind studies, or sometimes even triple-blind studies, etc., right?
Yes.
So she went ahead over the 9 months, and I'll give you the summary. Those who recited the Gayatri mantra in Sanskrit, and there were those who read the translation of the Gayatri mantra, and those who meditated on the Gayatri mantra. And the Gayatri mantra is directed, it's the first mantra in all the Vedas. The Vedas are the transmissions, right? As we are all aware of now. So it is guided and directed to light, which is to evoke the innate intelligence, manifest this evoked intelligence for the benefit of all life, and travel this vibrantly in your power and strength in peace, and celebrate it. Well, what were her findings? Her findings were those who recited the Gayatri mantra, their gamma interferon markers became very steady. They were not fluctuating. Those who read kept fluctuating, and those who meditated kept fluctuating, and those who did nothing kept fluctuating. But let's take the inference from all this. What stirred dear Tesla, Nicholas Tesla, and down the road, dear Einstein, and we can give a host of others. What frequency and vibration govern the very fundamental basis of everything there is, including what we are all present with now across the planet with CV19. It's a vibration.
Right.
So and from the sages, they conveyed very precisely, irrespective of whatever went on, because the aspect related to pandemics were all conveyed in the Atharva Veda, in one of the Vedas that has to do with Ayurveda. When humankind attains a higher vision, the lower vision disappears unto itself. Then multitude count for naught. It takes a few beings with infinite energy, infinite enthusiasm, infinite courage, infinite patience, and most important of all, infinite love. What is the most powerful force of all the universe? We know. It comes straight from here, straight from this center. That is not an intellectual process. If you do not feel it, it's a feeling. That feeling, life is emotion. We have created a separation of the cognitive and the intuitive. Till we evoke that harmony. Let's go beyond harmony. Harmony is a passive word now. There's a dynamic interplay between the two all the time, all the time. It's like you say, when you tango, it takes two to tango, right?
Right.
Well, it takes two to tango. Right here.
Right.
What a dance of life this is. And to evoke the dance of life, there are very precise steps that we are all initiated and taught from an early age, which is what perturbed dear Macaulay and his gang. But they implemented a pattern that today made us all very analytical in thinking, and hence we see, rather than humankind evolving to the higher configurations of life, we still live like barbarians and continue to speed that thinking. And I must give great credence, dearest Mark Abadi, to what you have initiated, to evoke, because if even one being is sensitized, that is an amplitude of 70 trillion cells. That's more than all the stars in the Milky Way galaxy, because every thought that we think, not from here, but from here, nothing can stop it. This is Swami Vivekananda conveying, if you go inside a cave and you think one thought, and you have thought that thought from the essence of your being, nothing can stop it, not iron walls, not gates, not caves, not anything. It will transmit across the universe and seed itself in those who are ready to receive, to transmute it and manifest it and bring it to fruition.
So what you're saying is basically make the changes within yourself, because that will have a massive cascading effect upon the rest of the universe by a harmonic resonance of awakening.
If, as in the study that was published finally, the Washington DC study,
right,
at the Yale Journal of Conflict Resolution, right?
Yes.
8,000 meditators coming together, the amplitude of 8,000 is the square. And the square at that time, back in the 1990s, was 6.4 billion. Today we are at 7.3 billion. And maybe, again, it's all a wave function, no? It declines and ascends. So even if we say, let's keep it at 6 billion people, it just takes 8,000 beings who are still, which means stillness doesn't mean we are sitting and not moving around.
Right.
We could be in a dynamic rhythm, but absolutely still.
So
that stillness,
yes,
is evoking inside of us this metaphor that is so essential to our recognition to life, is that our chakras are like the lotus petal. This is the crown. Then we have the root. The root is living in the murkiest of waters, but the crown is unaffected.
I think, you know, people would ask, what has, like, how does the impact of their own practice affect my neighbor, let alone somebody on the other side of the world? How does the small make such a big difference?
You know, even prior to our meeting at Boulder,
Yes.
even prior to that, we conducted experiments on non-local transfer to water as a medium. You're familiar with what we've been doing.
Is this the Emoto work, or, I mean, did you ever work with Jack Benvenisti in Paris? I thought his work was excellent in the day.
Oh, that is another lifetime.
Okay.
Truly.
Yes.
But here, we got together with dear Rustum Roy,
Right.
then with Gary Schwartz, with Lynn McTaggart, with Dean Radin, with Konstantin Korotkov. Right. So then, at some given point, we also interacted with Eric Pearl. But what did we also do? We did studies related to distant transfer. Yeah, Bill Tiller.
Yeah.
Distant transfer to see that can water be affected by thought, clear halfway across the globe. Keeping all the various protocols of measurement. Repeatedly, we saw that. We did this through a shaman ceremony in Peru, over an ayahuasca ceremony, while I was in Taos.
Yeah.
I had a control water and a experimental water, which I sent the picture of the experimental water to the group in the middle of the Amazon. And during their ceremony, ayahuasca ceremony at night,
Yes.
they sent loving energy to the water, and I randomly did this over a 7-day period. And we made a video, and it was very, very clear. The water responded. It was still, the bouquet of the water was sweet. There was still oxygenation in the water. The control began to have a aroma of decay. It is like saying that you are not paying attention to me. So it has very deep implications, Mark.
But this research, I mean, this was anecdotal in terms of the water. What were the scientific measures you were using to assess the water's harmonics?
Doing it with the GDV.
Right. The gas discharge visualization, which is basically like the Kirlian photography. And if people are uncertain, you can look at the interview I did with Tiffany about a SOTI a couple of weeks ago, on the 28th of May. Carry on, Krishna. So you did GDV on these.
So of course, with the research instruments of the GDV, which is the precursor. I wouldn't say it's a first generation that kept developing.
Yes.
Because it's a software-based system, and the BioWell is an evolution that is more cloud-based. Right?
Okay.
Cloud-based, portable, and of course Constantine did wonderful things with the BioWell and the software. But this software of the GDV generation, which is what we use, because this goes back to like 2012 when we did this study. It was before the BioWell came out, where we are observing entropy of the water. So the entropy is the behavior of the water to a response or not having a response. Besides anecdotal. So nothing was anecdotal here. We are looking at real-time data. We are looking at the level of photon emanations of the water. We are also then calculating the entropy of the water. So which is the response of the behavior to an input. And all of those showed that the water that was the control, the entropy began gradually. When you lose your life force energy, what happens? Your entropy begins to diminish because your life energy is being drained out of you. You know?
Right.
So there are some very, very important characteristics, dear Mark Abadi, that relate to non-local influence, which is in answer to your question. If I'm sitting here in Bangalore and I'm here in a movement and in contemplation, and I'm holding the whole planet like this across the heart center and transmitting green, emerald green light to the entire planet, resonating it in continuum, the planet is invoked with this.
Right.
The Schumann frequency will be invoked because this is the power of, well, let's go beyond intention. This is the power of our true connect to what is my purpose of being. Outside of our physical reality.
Right.
We give ourselves names. I'm a shaman, I'm this and that and those. No, none of it matters. None of it matters. Ultimately, who are you from your source? That's the essence of who we are. Because as you know, in Sufis, among the Sufis, which is again a mystical science, you know, to them it is, you can be a Sufi whether you are the president of a nation, whether you are sweeping the streets. It has no differentiation because your connect from here is connected to source. And I don't look at source by pointing up. Source has never left you. It's always been here.
Right.
However, to breathe this, to feel it, to embrace it in loving passion, one has to let go. We have to shed. We have to shed stuff. Accumulation.
I think that's...
Unless... go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I think that's the main paradox that people get stuck in, is in order to acquire this thing that's always been there, to become aware of source, one has to surrender stuff, attachments. And that is the difficult bit, is how people, in people's mind, they don't... The world doesn't appear to be... give up to get something. it appears to be keep trying, keep acquiring, keep taking. You can only have something if you take it or if you have it. Whereas the realization of source is the opposite. It's give up to win. It's surrender everything you have to become everything. It's like a paradox.
See, so when Siddhartha was divined, among his transmissions was the thoughts you think is the world we create. So think high thoughts. Think of them day after day, moment after moment. If you stumble and fall, doesn't matter. You pick yourself back up, but you always keep the high vision. So it starts from thought. You seed this thought. The moment you begin to seed this thought, you're also seeding the quality and you're refining thought. Then this translates to a vibration. A word is a vibration. Because the moment you puncture stillness, you have entered the world of vibration.
Puncture stillness.
The moment you have punctured stillness, which we call the state of para, P-A-R-A.
Like from paralyzed.
Huh?
Like from paralyzed. Or it but created paralyzed.
The para is it's a vibrational word in Sanskrit that connects with the heart sutra of the Tibetan mystics. It's called directed to the heart of perfect wisdom. And I'll recite it. It's so beautiful. Gate, gate, paragate, parasangate, bodhi, swaha, Oh, translated, gone beyond the senses, gone beyond thought, gone beyond the thought of thoughts. Hail to those who have illumined these pathways for us to align with and navigate for the optimal well-being to all beings in all spaces and all dimensions. Travel in peace, in courage, brilliance and love.
Wonderful, wonderful. Oh, Krishna, it's been such a joy having you on, even through the bad internet connections. Thank you so much for sharing your light and your being with the world. It's forever a divine gift for us to have you sharing your light.
Oh, thank you, dearest Mark. But you know something? What I would like to share.
Yes.
If we have a moment.
Yes, a moment. Tapas is coming on in a minute, but that's cool. We've still got a moment.
1 minute. Is how does all this get put into action?
Yes.
So take a simple step for all my brothers, sisters, cousins everywhere around the planet. For a moment, just do this to the ears. Take the tongue to the upper mandible. Breathe in and go to as a vibration. And then stop the vibration and plug your ears and just listen to the stillness with eyes closed. Practice this. This simple practice, do it every day, not just for 21 days, but incorporate that into the fabric of your life with no expectation, just
right. I think that's the key there is surrender expectation and look with eyes of new. Look curiously, in wonderment. Without looking almost. It's look without looking. Just simply observe. My first teacher used to say, just go wide angle.
Yes, indeed. Get sound.
Yeah, just step back and go wide. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Krishna. Come and say hello to Tapas. You know Tapas, don't you, Fleming?
Namaste, dear Tapas.
Hold on, she's not on yet. She's going to come on.
Okay.
And then, let's see, Tapas Fleming. She is. Can you ask to start video? Hello,
Hi.
Tapas, and you know Krishna.
Namaste.
Namaste. Jai Shri Krishna. Good to meet you.
Indeed. Indeed.
I'm surprised you haven't met from ISEAM, but Tapas was always at the energy psychology conferences, Krishna. She has this wonderful technique which is relevant to what we were just talking about, which is TAT, Tapas acupuncture technique. One of her positions, I believe it's this, or is it this? Because I liked this, but it might be this. But it's basically, for me, it was bringing up the heart chakra connected to the hands up into the third eye, and then connecting it like this and holding some sort of moment of resonance with the third eye and the heart interconnecting. And I think you'll find it very interesting.
And you know, the beauty about it is we can measure all this today.
Right. Krishna works with the BioWell and the GDV and the different tech as well.
Oh, awesome. That's so cool.
I'll connect you. He's between Taos and India. He's a very, very cool being.
Great. So are you going to stick around or for this part of the show? Or
No,
just get to meet?
Krishna is just passing over the baton.
Okay.
Yes, passing the baton.
Okay. Good to meet you.
Mutually, and a very inspiring transmission for the benefit of all humankind.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you, Krishna, beloved. Please, love to the family, to your girls, who I remember fondly. Hopefully
yes,
that.
Rihanna.
Yeah, Rihanna, wonderful, and your wife, and please enjoy India on my behalf. Have a nice dal for me.
Celebratorily, shall be done.
A celebratory dal, exactly. Wonderful.
Okay.
Thank you, Krishna.
Right. Love you all.
Much love. Bye.
Thank you.
Oh, right. Let's do that, and then this, and then that should because Krishna is still here. How do I? Oh, he's gone. Perfect.
Okay.
Oh, okay. So hold on. I want to stop this, and I'm going to start it again because something happened with my live stream, so I'm going to stop it. Introduction. I tried to splice together. You're so humble that you almost refuse to give me a bio of you because it's like, yeah, Tapas created Tap. That's it. That's all I got. But I pulled something. So for me, you are ingenious. It's the ingenious Tapas Fleming, as I described you. A practitioner of traditional Chinese medicine. You're a pioneer in the field of energy psychology, which we're going to talk all about and you're going to explain to us. You created TAT, Tapas acupressure technique, which has now become widely used to strengthen our emotional immune system by reducing anxiety, fear, stress, and promoting spiritual growth. And people can find more at tatlife, tatlife.com. Welcome, Tapas Fleming.
Thank you.
How are you during this unusual time?
I'm very well.
You
I'm
look
finding
well.
At a time of spiritual development.
Yes.
For sure. For sure, yeah. And mostly I work at home, so nothing much has changed for me.
Right. Perfect. Tell us about your background, your history, how you came to develop this technique, and then we'll go on to the actual technique.
Okay. Like a lot of us, came from a family of not too much happiness in a lot of ways. And my dad was pretty angry and reserved, held in, and the family was nervous all the time, scared, withdrawn. So basically, I just wanted to end up in a relationship with a guy that I liked. I wanted to feel
okay.
at home with a man and just at ease and happy. So what happened was, instead, I kept ending up with relationships that were like duplicating what I had grown up with at home, and just wondered to myself, why do I keep doing the same stupid things?
Right.
So that was my quest.
Right.
And then also in my teens, I got involved with enlightenment work and also emotional clearing type stuff, interpersonal relating. So I had a long background of all of that. And later on, got pregnant with twins. They died. And I wondered, what am I going to do now? So I became an acupuncturist, just wanted to do some healing. And in the course of that, I learned a technique that helped people get over allergies. So I was working with people, helping them get over their allergies. And in the back of my mind, wanted to solve, why do I keep doing these same stupid things question.
Right.
And I worked with a woman who was allergic to salt. And I thought, man, that's got to be tough to live with.
Right.
And really? So after we worked together in this technique I'd learned and then changed, she said, I've been in therapy for years, for 9 years. She was in her late 50s. She said, because I was sexually abused in a bar, and afterwards every time I was given a bag of potato chips. And I went, oh, ding. Like the salt of the potato chips and the trauma all became this is bad for me.
Wow.
This is no. So she said, all that therapy didn't work, but after this session, I can think of that entire period of my life and I have no emotional charge. So I realized that, oh my God, my prayers have just been answered, because I knew there were things that happened in my past that I wanted to clear up emotionally. So not only could I help a person get over allergies, I could just directly help anybody, including me, get over emotional junk. So that was it. And part of it came to me after a nap on my acupuncture table, just this one, one point, like one of my teachers from acupuncture school saying all the meridians join and enter the brain right here. And then after a while, I wrote this Taoist master acupuncturist, father to son since the Han Dynasty, and said, what have I come up with? Because I had this, and also driving to work one day, I came up with putting the hand here at the back of the brain's vision center, thinking this is so eye-centered. And, oh yes, and then there was this guy, one of my patients said, oh, I had this little old Tai Chi master from China who said to touch these points plus this if I ever had a headache or other problems. I thought, okay, I'll add that in. So what was happening was my patients were getting over their allergies faster, and I was starting to use it for emotional trauma, so it was all for myself, so it was all just things were happening within my practice. And this Taoist master said, I said, what is this basically? And he said, what you've come up with aligns with ancient knowledge. May your successful practice make you rich and happy. So that was basically it.
Wow. First off, thanks for sharing such deep, intimate background. I didn't know most of that. And wow. So what you've come up with seems to be like almost like a Pavlov and his dog in reverse, kind of like a reverse conditioning.
Yeah.
And I think I remember when we first met is I was giving a lecture on some research we had done using TAT in India, as it happens. Yes. And I had basically racked my brains to try and explain the physics of what was going on. And one of the things I noted was I was becoming very interested in fields coming from the hands and noticing that they were reversed and blah, blah, blah. And where you meet in the middle, some magic happens where you meet two opposites. And it seems like that is concordant with all these interviews I've been doing, is that the magic seems to be when you unite opposites together. And that was coincidentally what I was sharing, because this notion seems to join in the center where the limbic system is of the brain.
Yeah.
If you were to take the middle point between these two,
Yes.
and then can you talk about what it's doing in terms of where we store these emotional habits and how and what's going on with this deprogramming?
Sure. So the way I understand it and what makes the most sense to me is that our bodies are actually, mostly made of crystal. I'm sure you know that better than I do, right?
This is James Oshman stuff, yeah.
Pardon?
James Oshman, crystalline matrix, living matrix. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, even our bones and blood, everything. So I think what's happening really is that our bodies are more like tuners. So we tune into the field. We're not storing information in, little packets in our DNA or somewhere. It's tuned in. And so, for instance, I think that we have information we're born into that is tuned into information that, say, our ancestors lived through a trauma. And so they're passing along information like, I have Russian Jewish background,
right.
So it's like
don't we all?
Okay, so you better have a suitcase under your bed and
right.
ready to just go. So it's just information or like that, or people who lived through starvation have information they're tuned into.
So where's this information stored?
I think it's in the field,
like cloud technology.
Yes,
yeah.
Like that.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's an awesome way to put it, like that. So what we're doing with TAT is becoming no longer automatically tuned into stuff. And in terms of the opposites, that's awesome too, because I'll tell you another cool story. I met my first guru when I was 21 in India, and he gave me this name Tapaswini, which is just tapas for short.
Right.
But tapas, I found out later, refers to the loka, or the realm of this chakra. And this are the back of this chakra. These points that I came up with, like whatever it was, 40 years later. And when you master a realm of the chakra, you get a spiritual gift that comes with it. And the gift with this is the ability to bear the dualities of life.
Wow.
And that's exactly what happens with TAT, because we no longer identify with the being that experienced this event.
Right.
So we actually become in a state of non-duality through the TAT process. We're not identified with either the doer or the experiencer, with being the victim or the perpetrator more commonly. We just become automatically through this process centered in our own divine being. So yeah, opposites dissolving is
And to further that point, one of the things that is also coming up is this triad, this trinity of things. In fact, my first teacher told me that the smallest number is 3. smallest number you can possibly have 3. And I was like, yeah, I didn't really understand it for quite some time. But now I totally get it. And it's come up in these conversations I've been having with people. I've had now about 60 conversations since the lockdown. And
Wow.
and yeah, and we've technically we've got better. In fact, now there's a really nice view to the show. You can't see it because you're just seeing Zoom, which is that. And so basically nobody here on the screen can see anything past my hands. So nobody can see any of this. So you can see all my house mess here, but nobody else can see it. Anyway, so it's nice. You'll see it after. Once I don't know what's happening with the Facebook stream, but anyway, once we've got it. So the smallest number is 3, and I understand this by this, that, okay, so you've got 1. Now, in order to have something and 1 defined, you have to have something that's not it in order to define it. Because if there was just one thing, there would be nothing, because there would be no edge to it. So to have 1, you must have 2. So that's first off. So there has to be an it and not it for there to be an it. Okay, good. Now, in order for there to, and so then there's an it, there's a not it, but then because there's 2, there's always a combined essence of that thing. Like there's always the experience that the it has with the not it, and that creates this third, neither it or not it aspect. The Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, the Ida, the Pingala, the united of the both. The meditation practice I've been doing for 20, 30 years, how old am I? 22 years, is this uniting of this Ida and the Pingala through into the third eye, which is why I always loved TAP, because it's so similar to that unification of the duality of creation.
Yes.
So I love that you're speaking about this third aspect, this non-it.
Yep.
Or non-it, and the unification.
Non-not it. Also.
Exactly, and the non-it, and the non-not it. It's the it, not it.
Yep, and that's who we are. We're the not it, we're not either of those opposites.
Right.
We're the eternal witness.
Right.
And what I find with TAT is that it just through this simple process returns us to that condition of the eternal witness, or people would often say in a session, well, I just feel like I'm in a condition of peace.
Right.
That's it. And that peace is who we are. So we're not feeling like eternal guilt for having hurt others, or eternal anger for how others are treating us, blah, blah, blah. So we just become completely centered in who we are. And that's the real beauty of it.
Wow. And that notion of centering, I think, people often feel scared of the notion of losing their identity in the it. What would you say to them who people are worried about becoming neutral? And this thing I hear when I talk about neutrality, well, what if I don't love my kids anymore? It's like the you that you are, the it that you are. How's it affected by sitting in the center?
Well, sitting in the center, well, first of all, doing TAT, it's hardly noticeable that things are dissolving, because it just happens so fast.
Right.
Because the way I like to think of it too is that this pose, by the way, this does integrate the Ida, Pingala, and Sushumna nadis. This pose does. That's the 3 for people who don't know yoga. It's the sun, moon, and central channels. The main channels of the energy centers of yoga are united by this. Yeah. Anyway, so the thing is that it happens so fast. Oh yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's like, I like to say it's like a USB port. It's like you just touch these points, and then whatever you think, boom, your whole system updates with whatever it is you're thinking. So it happens incredibly fast. Your whole system, meaning your thoughts and beliefs, your body sensations, your emotions, plus your relationships with people, everything just updates.
So yes.
Let me answer your question. So the deal is that for people who are afraid, it doesn't last. They don't even notice that it's going by. They just go, wow, I'm feeling peaceful. The neutral isn't like plain vanilla with no sugar. It's like the quote neutral is actually the creative source of being. It's love, it's eternity, it's peace, it's absolute purity, it's absolute love. That's who we are. And being able to then play with your kids with all of that. Right. It's also endless compassion. That's our nature. So being more in touch with that is always good. It's not boring.
Yeah. What a great answer. Beautiful. I'm sorry to almost interrupt you, and kind of did. But I get excited, especially when we're talking about these. So let's talk about what one does with it, because initially there was this notion that, I mean, in energy psychology, the thing that I always liked. So energy psychology, for those of you who don't know the wider field, is basically generally it involves some sort of tapping, some sort of interfering with the body's electromagnetic system in order to detach belief systems and reattach other belief systems. So it's a kind of defragging, for want of better computer metaphors. Basically it's activating the body in different points to detach and reattach belief systems. Okay, so with your technique, tell us about what you do. So let's say somebody is fearful of men. Let's just go there. They're fearful of men because they were attacked and they were raped and blah blah blah. So they're afraid of men, and they're afraid of dating, and they're afraid of seeing anyone because they don't know if they're going to repeat the patterns of blah blah. How would you take them through it?
Well, if you want, we can do a really shortened version now.
I mean, we can definitely.
People could participate in super short.
Yes.
Or do you want me to just talk about it in general?
Whatever feels right. It's all good.
Okay, I think experience says a lot. Personal experience says a lot more than blah blah.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll just talk us through each step. The first thing we do is, so for everyone listening, just think of something you'd like to clear up. Maybe not the worst thing that ever happened in your life. So maybe something on a scale of like 0 to 10, with 0 no stress and 10 being the worst. Maybe pick something around a 5-ish, something like that. So just something that happened that you'd like to get over. And in these times when many people are quarantined at home, it's bringing up all kinds of stuff. So it could be just anxiety. It just could be general anxiety, but the best way to do it is to pick one event, because then you can see a start and a finish. Okay. So I assume everybody's got something. So then we'll make this intention first. So we do what I call the heart close. It's just palm over your heart chakra. So it's near your heart.
And does it matter for men, okay. For men, women? Does it matter? Whichever way.
Whichever way feels comfortable, yeah. And we'll just make this intention together. So I'll say it and you just listen and cruise along. This healing's on behalf of each of us, all of our families, all of our ancestors, our conscious and subconscious mind, all the parts of us, all the points of view we've ever been identified with, for all beings involved, all beings who would like to benefit, and it'll happen in a way that's safe and easy. Okay, so now we're going to do the TAT pose, so you can let your hands rest. So as I'm chatting us through this very shortened version,
yes,
all you do as a listener is just relax, hear what I'm saying, and notice whatever you notice. It's kind of like I'm driving, you're riding, and just looking out the window. It's just very like that.
So now we're holding the thought in our head that the event.
No.
Okay.
No, we've all decided we're going to work on our own event, and in fact, what we'll do is we'll make the intention that we have a big giant pot, so to speak, which is the field of our connectedness, and we're all putting in to this big pot all the stuff we're working on together. And for anyone who watches this later, you're included too.
Okay.
So we're putting our stuff into this pot, and we're doing this healing on behalf of ourselves and each other and all our families and ancestors. So it's just in there. You don't have to think about it again. You just listen to what I'm saying, and that's it. So, yeah. So we'll just start. So to do the pose, you use your thumb and ring finger and lightly touch just above the upper inner corner of each eye. Light touch. And your middle finger goes at the third eye area, so it's just between and slightly above your eyebrows. And the base, your other hand goes at the base of your skull, so it's just at your hairline and centered. Yep, that's it. You got it. Okay, so that's the pose. Okay, so now we'll start. So you just put your attention on what I'm saying. Everything that led up to my resonating, identifying, and connecting with this happened. So we don't need to know what all that is or anything. It's just like doing a huge search on the internet. You just type in some words. It's just this intent. I'll say it again. Everything that led up to our resonating, identifying, and connecting with this happened. So this means all the stuff in the pot. So we all benefit from what we're all putting in the pot. All of that happened, it's over, and we no longer resonate, identify, or connect with any of that. And I'll talk to all the parts of us involved just a little bit. That means like childhood parts, maybe other lifetime parts, maybe this life from conception onward, physical parts of us involved. So we don't need to identify any of them. We're just making this intention that I'm going to speak to all the parts in the voice of you. So I'll be saying I, but it means you're conveying this to all these parts. I love and accept you just the way you are right now. I know and understand that things happen that led up to your being the way you are and feeling the way you do. All of that happened, it's over, and you don't need to resonate, identify, or connect with any of that anymore. All you parts of my body, down to my cells, you can relax now, and you can open up all of your receptors to love, happiness, peace, connection, support, compassion, and appreciation. You can also open up to all of the good things my body makes just for you, so you can do your job and be happy and healthy. Okay, so give your arms a rest. And we'll, actually, how about this? You just tell me what you've noticed so far.
It's very relaxing. It's very relaxing. It kind of feels like I've been meditating for another hour, you know? It's like... Yeah, it's a very peaceful presencing. It's like, and you're completely present with it as well.
Yeah.
And I love the back really does feel like it's this very important key.
Yeah.
To like, so it's like you're holding yourself. It's like you're cradling yourself in your own presence-ing.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll do a tad more. So what you and everyone listening can do now is just select whatever you want to have be real, whatever you want to manifest related to this, like whatever like if it was, say it was someone who's afraid of men, you could select not I'm going to be, but I'm now. I'm now at ease with men. Or if that feels like too much, it's possible for me to be at ease with men. Just see what happens. Or this anxiety has dissolved, if that's what it was. Or whatever it is that is basically the opposite condition, or the what you want put in now time, not going to be time. So figure that out. Let me know when you're ready and I'll talk you through the rest, okay?
All right. I've got something.
Okay, good. So please do the pose again. So while you're in the pose, say that what you have selected to yourself 3 times. And some people like to say, I'm so happy and grateful that whatever it is you selected. That's another way to do it. And so after you've said it 3 times, let me know and then I'll talk some more.
Okay.
Okay. So stay in the pose. This is possible for me. I like this. This feels great. I completely allow and accept this. I see and feel myself living this now. I see and feel all of life and the divine completely supporting me in this. I'm grateful for this. Okay, and that's good for now. You can put your arms down. So when you're ready, tell me what you noticed that time.
Just more light. More light. More like, I mean, I'm having lots of light visual effects at the moment, which is something that happens in my meditation anyway. With this pose, it's designed to bring us to the light. But yeah, I'm having like it's like light. It's almost like Morse code with light. You know, like from a ship.
Yeah.
It feels like there's kind of I'm being Morse coded.
Your system's updating.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, cool.
Exactly.
I just want to say that now you've been meditating for years. Some people will do this and they'll say, well, I didn't feel anything. I don't know. What's that? So the real deal with this is, how does your life change after? And you'll only know by living through certain conditions, like if a woman was afraid of men or a man was afraid of men. There are plenty of men who are abused too.
Yes.
Then you're able to look back at a situation and go, oh my God, I was in a situation where I would have felt really scared and I felt fine. Okay, I guess maybe something did happen with that TAT.
Right. So try it. So I mean, it's free, and you can do it as much as you want. I something that's I've noticed in my own therapy practice is this flushing to the surface of truth, in a way, because I do massage therapy as well as a sort of coaching, and I've linked them together into something called psychopressure, which is basically the notion that you have to flush to the surface the emotions that are attached to, and actually a lot of it came from energy psychology realizations, but that you have to flush to the surface the authentic rawness of the emotion, and then you can work on it in the physical body. So I want to know your idea in terms of, because a lot of people have buried trauma. So how much do they have to like unbury and sort of like authentically look at their own shit?
Yes. Zero.
And
zero, and I'll tell you why. Because I used to do massage like you're talking about. Somewhat, I used to feel like I had to move the energy, like there was stuck energy and I had to move it through the massage work I was doing. So the thing is that if I were to say to you, hey Mark, you're going to be in California next week, let's have lunch together, and I said I'll meet you at my favorite restaurant at noon, and you were there, so you come to California, you're waiting for me at the restaurant, and I don't show up, but it's 10 after, and you think, I wonder what's up. I haven't received any messages. And then it's 20 after, and you're starting to get a little irritated, like, not that you would, but don't I count? How come she's not here? What's the story? Blah, blah. And then maybe by 12:40, you'd be getting angry. And then finally you receive a call. Oh, Tapas was in a car accident. She couldn't come. So boom, what would happen? Well, your emotions would go through all this stuff, including all the way to anger and maybe I'm going to leave this stupid restaurant anyway, and should I have lunch, shouldn't I? To, oh my God, compassion for me, Tapas, your friend, and like that. So the point is that during that first part, before you had that new information that I was in a car crash, well, the information you had was leading up to these very real emotions. Those emotions were not unreal. They were real. And then the new feelings you had for me were real. So what happens is that, as we know, like you described, the body holds these deep, raw emotions. But when the body and all the parts of us, like child parts and teenager parts and all these different parts that hold these points of view, receive new information, like that happened, it's over and you can relax now, they actually update. So that emotion is just completely gone. It's not there. It isn't something you have to deal with. You don't need to get to the source of it.
So there's no recording.
So powerful, really.
There's no recording of that somewhere.
Pardon?
There's no recording of that somewhere in the cloud. I mean, it's like, are you saying that? So could that apply to people forgiving other people? Like if someone's done something to them, so they've got all these emotions, and they might hold it for weeks, months, years, and then if they really forgive the person, are you saying that all those emotions that had been present for that time just dissolve?
I am.
And what about their impact on things? Because I mean, holding a negative belief system has surely got to impact your biological system.
It does, but the impact immediately is gone. It's really gone. Like, I mean, in that example of you waiting for me at the restaurant when I didn't show up, you'd be getting mad. You'd be getting steamed. Probably your head would start, like, smoke would come out your ears. Yeah. Not that you would, I'm just saying.
No, I'd probably just go to the beach, you know.
Well, but say you didn't, and you were being faithful and waiting for me, and then you got this other information. All of a sudden, the compassion would be flowing out of your heart.
Right.
So it's a different physiology. So it's very real. It actually changes, and it's based on your true viewpoint of what happened changing. Like when people do TAT, a lot of times what happens is they become instantly, for real, compassionate toward their parents who were really messed up, and go, oh, they were just really messed up people, and that was really the best they could do, for real. And it's because of how they were treated, and I get it.
Right.
And there's no more charge on it. Like that woman who was allergic to salt said, I have no more charge on this.
So it's holding the compassion for things. People are invested in their identity, right? And
totally.
And people love to, like, I mean, I'm with my partner here, and sometimes, I'm like frustrated, and she goes, well, would you like to, not be frustrated? And I go, no, I want to be I want to be angry. Let me be angry now. And a lot of it's jokey, but still there is a truth to the element that sometimes I want to hold the not nice feeling. Why do we do that as people? And what can you say to people who are like, I mean, you can say, fine, hold it if you want, but I mean, it's like, how do we help people who don't realize that they're holding on because it's their identity? They're holding on to the anger or resentment because it's like they feel it makes them them.
Yeah. There are a few things you can do with TAT. First of all, anger is sometimes natural and needed to like communicate something that means a lot to you. So, okay, but once you do that, still staying in it, and maybe anger isn't the best way to communicate, to be heard, maybe not, but maybe sometimes you need it to break out of something that you're stuck in.
Right.
So that's possible. But also, so what you can do with TAT that's real easy is you can do the pose with the thought, I need to feel this way to feel like me. And then the opposite, like you were saying earlier, I need to feel this feeling. So other hand at the back too. I need to feel this way to feel like I'm me. I don't need to feel this feeling and be this way to feel like I'm me. It's possible that I'm me without being identified with being angry or identified with being a not angry person. I'm really not either of those. I'm just me. So something like that.
I like that. The possibilities are nice because like it's the what if. It's like curiosity again, presenting the curiosity to the being, which really seems to be the key to getting into that neutral space, is being curious, rather than trying to like work our way in like with one of our its, you know.
Right. Yeah.
Instead, you just be curious about what it's like to, you know. And so I'm wondering, what have you noticed, and have you done any work with sort of archetypes have come up a lot in these conversations, and in terms of how people have conversations with themselves by embodying archetypes. And so like yesterday I had my friend C on, who is a performer, an actor, and he constantly goes into different characters as he's speaking. He doesn't know what he's going to do, but he just does it. And you know, when people are in intimate relationships, they often develop characters in their intimate relationships where they're like, you know, Bobo, and Bobo's a little bear that gets angry sometimes. And I've got one, right? It's you know, it's Baby War Owl. And it's Baby War Owl is Warrior Owl, and as I go into Baby Woe, he's called, he's very ferocious, but he looks like a little owl with little grey feathers, and it's like the vision of it becomes clear in me, and I start to understand aspects of my character by embodying them into this archetype. So my question comes: have you done any archetypal work, and how do you think that might relate to holding the poses in archetypal characters and changing hands, like the yin and the yang of masculine and feminine? Does it impact the notion when you change hands and conceive different kind of like archetypes?
Okay, so archetypes is the way that some people piece up life. Other people have totally different models, mental models for how they cut up the pie. So whatever a person's model is that they find, oh, I'm identified with this, I keep being this, I would say to do TAT about that, whatever it is that you just don't like about it. Because if you're stuck with an identification, then you're stuck with it doing its thing and having its parameters and its negative ways of connecting or limited ways of being, and you don't want yourself to be anything but present in the moment with your full being. So anything that's limiting, I just figure it comes from a series of past lives,
right,
plus the family you were born into, plus all the things that happen in this life from conception onward, plus society and culture. There are all these influences. So you just, as you're doing TAT, all you have to do is just take some little thing that's bothering you, that's like, I just don't really care for this. Or, gosh, when my partner talks to me like this, I typically act this way. So you just go, okay, all the parts of me that just typically act this way that you don't like, you put in the pot, so to speak, And you just go through the steps of TAT, which dissolves your identification with that. So you could be that way, but it's not an automatic way of being. Similar for any archetype. It's not fixed.
Yeah.
That's the idea.
Yeah. I mean, with the archetypes I was experiencing, it actually helps me to go deeper into my character, because it creates this separation of identity, which allows for a kind of like if I'm not Mark Abadi and I'm not this new archetypal character, then I'm the observer, and then suddenly it gives me this triad perspective on the relationship to it all. Okay, yeah. So that's good. What about this masculine and feminine with regards to changing the hands?
Yeah. So part of the process these days includes an integration where we do change the hands, and we also put our fingertips here, so there's a flow across the brain. Fingertips here, all the way tucked
behind the ears,
around. Yeah, thumb behind the earlobe, and finger. This little finger goes up at the top, so our fingertips are snuggled around. Anyway, it's part of the whole process. So what's happening? Yeah, your thumb goes behind your earlobe.
Okay.
So, and your pinky up at the top. Yeah, that's part of the integration process.
Right. I feel like Pob. You probably don't know who Pob is. Pob was a cartoon character in England. He was a big-eared.
I don't.
That was Pob's face. It was interesting. Anyway, so this is an interesting pose. Wow.
Yeah. So it helps with integrating things. I'll just tell you a statement that goes with that.
Yes.
It's, everything we did in the TAT process is completely integrating now with my grateful thanks. Like that.
Yeah, it's very integrating, isn't it? Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have you come across the body talk system?
Heard of it, don't know it intimately.
Yeah. You know, it incorporates a lot of different things. A lot of the wisdom that you're sharing has some incorporation in it. So the element of that masculine, feminine, there is something to it. And if somebody feels, so would you go, if somebody's holding a pose and they're feeling that it's more uncomfortable this way than this way, should they go towards the discomfort or go towards the comfort?
No, whatever's comfortable. So
go towards the comfort.
Yeah, the thing is, my computer has USB ports on two sides, so whichever you want to use is fine.
So it doesn't matter, is what you say. Okay. But if people notice the difference between each side, so let's say, because we've almost got polarities here. We've got the thing that you want to let go of and the thing that you want to have more of. So you've got these two different things. And let's say that, holding my right hand here and this makes me feel more uncomfortable than the thing I want to let go of. But if I'm talking about the thing that I really like, it makes me feel more comfortable, and vice versa here. So all the time I should be going towards the comfort rather than like feeling the pain and like,
When you're feeling that, you just include in your thoughts, okay, all your parts feeling this discomfort, I'm talking to you too. You're portions of my being that's receiving this new information.
Right.
So more than the letting go of what you don't like and moving toward what you like, what's really spiritually profound about TAT is that you move into your own presence more.
Right.
Which has more value, you could say, than I have what I want. I don't have what I don't want. I want more of that. I want less of that.
Right.
That's the more profound value.
Right. It's almost that neutrality, that confluence of opposites.
Yeah.
Right.
But I'd rather say something like divine love and presence than neutrality.
Right. Yes.
It sounds so boring.
Yes. Neutrality has a charge, funnily enough.
Yeah. For me.
No, and for me. I mean, who wants? And even the void. I mean, in meditation, one of our things we meditate to achieve the void. you know, to realize the void. And it's like people are like scared. Why would I want to be in the void? Isn't it lonely and cold? And it's like, well, no, because there's nothing there to have any of that. But the void has negative connotations like neutral, and love has positive connotations, even though basically everything's talking about the same thing, that unification of presence. Yeah. So and so have you now cured yourself and long ago of this masculine recycling abuse?
Yeah, I just celebrated 18 years. I'm in my 19th year now with my high school boyfriend.
Oh,
I
wonderful.
left after a few years in high school, lived our whole lives, got together again, and it's been everyday extreme happiness. Yeah.
That is wonderful. And by the way, I am in California. I'm in San Rafael in the Bay.
Right.
I live here, so I absolutely accept your invitation for lunch and reject the possibility of a car crash on the way to lunch. So where are you? What are you doing? Are you seeing clients? People come to you and you're seeing online clients now?
Yeah, mostly in Zoom and Skype meetings, sometimes by phone, and I do webinars. Right. We're doing super reduced rate webinars just to, in respect of people not earning their living, and also to help people just come often, because this situation is just bringing up so much emotional distress for people and anxiety.
And where can people find out about this? Tat Life?
Yes.
Tatlife.com, tatlife.com. It will be in the description as well.
Yeah.
And so you're doing webinars. These are paid things or free things or open things. What's the arrangement?
$10.
Right. And you do them every.
We've been doing typically a couple a week, every week at different times, so that people in different time zones can come when it's good for them.
Great. So you do these couple of webinars, and how many people do you have on? It's like, is it personal or is it you like in lecture form?
It's me guiding people through a full TAT session. So usually people have time in the beginning to have like 2 minutes to share what it is they're putting in the pot, what it is that's distressing them, and then a couple of minutes at the end to share what they noticed, what transformation they noticed, and the rest of the time is just writing and noticing what you're in, and then going through the healing, going through the steps of TAT, and that's it.
Wonderful, wonderful. What does the future look like? I mean, you've been pioneering this healing work for so many years. What's your future look like?
The immediate future, like more of the same. I like it. I love it. It's just fulfilling to my heart to see people transform. And past, another couple of years or a few months, really, no idea.
Yeah. Well, you do it so well, Tapas. You hold this this neutrality of presence, and as does Krishna. I'm so happy that you're both on this alignment together in terms of the interviews. But hold this this stillness of presence, this gentle but yet presentness that guides so many people. So thank you for that you-ness.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you.
It's been such a pleasure having you on, and thank you for all your work. It's wonderful. Wonderful.
Thanks for having me on. Really fun to be with you and share this with your listeners.
Absolutely. Oh wow. And so please everyone go see Tat Life, and you can check out more of Tapas's work there. Thank you once again, Tapas Fleming. It's been an utter pleasure. Any last words you want to share?
Lots of love to you and everyone listening.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Oh, what a show. Thank you to my guests, Tapas Fleming, and to Krishna Madoppa from India. The visions are obvious. It's the unification of opposites, of all that you are. It's never a rejection of self. It's never a rejection of anything. It's a deep-welled acceptance of what everything has happened before and what everything can happen, because it's all here in the present. And what was that quote? I think it was an Oscar Wilde, but there are two things you should never be upset about. Those things you can help and those things you can't. So I love that unification notion, because it means that there's nothing to be really upset about. And you know what? If you are upset, fine, express it, be done with it, and then allow yourself to be present with the surrendering of needing to identify with it. It's not about like holding back these emotions and like, no, I must appear to be a good person. No, hello everyone. Hello, everything's happy. No. Express and be your truth, but don't hold it, because it's not really you. You are beyond that definition. You are it, divinely present. As Krishna said, as Tapas said, it's all you. And then there are technologies that you can use to advance yourself to the next level of acceptance. Oh, as my dad likes to say, I do have a book. It's called Book Evolve. Check it out. Well, it's called Evolve, but you can find it on bookevolve.com. Thank you to my guests. As I said, tomorrow we have Jennifer Russell and Nate Hogan. Wow, Jennifer Russell, a careers coach, a ninjaette, amazing being, all about unification of couples, specializes in couples, conflict resolution and unification. And Nate Hogan is bringing us back to nature, bringing us back to the beauty that is present in nature. Thank you once again. So much love. I'm enjoying myself so much in these interviews and these sessions. It's such a deep honor. Thank you. Please.